invite you to join me in using Negation Game to discuss something together. So in the chat, you can find the link, give it a click, and essentially you will see this interface. Let me give it a couple of seconds for people to go and jump into it, and then I'll explain how we can use Negation Game. So great, I'm seeing Hesam is already here. And while the others join, the idea of Negation Game is to create a tool for collective sense making and decision making. So when we studied a lot of challenges that DAOs and in general organizations had around decision making, what became clear is that making a decision itself, like approving or not a decision, was not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is to figure out what is the right decision, what are the right options, what are the pros and cons between these options. And we see the symptoms of these everywhere in DAOs making most decisions behind closed doors with only a small committee that ultimately only a small group of people that decide through back channels, or in other cases, political parties that just polarize, and again, is all back channel deals and so on. So we wanted to create a healthier way to have collective discourse, to have better decisions, and to reward the people who are participating in those decisions and incentivize them to be rigorous, to share their expertise, but also to be intellectually honest, meaning that this game is designed to reward you, not for necessarily being bright, but also for being honest about something. So it's called Negation Game because essentially you can create options. So if you click on the blue thing at the top, on governance and collective sense make. So you can add an idea here. So if you click on the main one and then it gives you the option, you said add point, you add a new option. So this is a new thing that answers this. So for example, I'm saying here that voting leads to polarization and back channel deals between parties. So now I have created an option. Now, what each of you can do is you can create your own options, and also you can add a point that negates or supports this idea. So essentially you can add an argument. So if you click here on the middle, you can change from support to negating, and you can say how strong this negates or how strong this supports the point. So am I strongly in favor? Am I strongly against these? And why is that? So for example, the point here is delegates don't always recognize the best interest of their constituents. Right? So that's an argument. So maybe you agree or maybe you disagree with these. So I invite you now to start trying it out. If you have any questions on how to use it, let me know. And what the game is building up to do is that then by using these points, so like, okay, I agree, I disagree with this argument, is this true or not? And then you can say, actually, is this relevant or is it not relevant to the point above? The game incentivizes you to add points, and it incentivizes you to say what would change your mind. So if you say, okay, let's say, if I'm going to add a point here that negates, so I believe this, and I'm going to think, okay, if this argument was true underneath, then I would change my mind about this point. So if there was a scientific study that demonstrated this to be false. So I'm saying essentially, if this was to be true, I will then change my mind. And someone else can come here and add a point that it's supporting these and showed and quote the scientific study, if you have it, or show whatever data or thing that supports or negates these. And so together, we're going to start creating a whole argument tree that then using game theory around the support mechanisms resolves itself. So essentially, we're applying prediction markets that give you a more accurate prediction of truth than many other forms of decision making. But we are tweaking these negation markets. So instead of decisions happening in secret and people just voting for the outcome, they're voting for the argument trees. And in so doing, we incentivize everyone to disclose and share information and deliberate and discuss and sense make with each other.
Can we think of like a case study for this?
What do you mean a case study?
Like a concrete use case when we would use this.
Anytime that you're debating a decision. I use it with a co-founder to analyze, will RnDAO succeed or fail? And what are the reasons he will succeed and fail? And we debated the whole thing. You can use it to decide. One of the biggest market use cases for these is allocation of scientific funding, especially in biotech. Should this thing be funded, yes or no? And they are complex expert-led decisions that are hard to make. And right now, scientific funding is a very political process, super messy, $1.2 trillion allocated this way. You can use it to make investment decisions. Like if you have an angel syndicate or if you're a VC, you could be, should we fund this startup, yes or no? As a company, you can be, should we take this specific strategy? Should we launch product A or should we expand to country B? You can use it to debate the whole decision. You could use it to debate government policy. Should abortion be legal? Yes or no? And you can have a whole nuanced, intellectually honest discussion around that.
Cool. Could we see, would you feel comfortable sharing your discussion with the founder, or does that feel a little too private?
Well, that was private by design because it includes a bunch of personal commentary. So I cannot share that one, unfortunately, but we can start playing around with this one here. So let's say, for example, here I'm going to add my hot take is Negation Game will be the next big thing in governance. And if you disagree or if you have any concerns, you can start adding those. Or if you think there is another big thing and something else that's going to be exciting here. You can also then connect something here. So for example, this point that someone else had made, let me see if I can figure out how to connect things. There. So now, oh no, sorry, someone deleted that point. You can also, as you can see, someone already added some mitigations. So this is not necessarily to invalidate the point, but is to say that actually, let's say this counter argument is not relevant because of this mitigation factor. So if you say, well, I don't know, we'll come up with an example soon, I'm sure. Yeah. So for example, you see there are 2.5x their valuation recently, but they started low, for example, is a thing. And then if I want to mitigate that, it's like, okay, they started low. Or something like that.
So to mitigate, you don't do it below but they started low.
It depends if you are negating or mitigating. Ultimately, it's a bit nuanced. So in this point, I'm saying, okay, this is true. It's true that they started low. someone could argue that they didn't start low, that they start high. That could be another point that someone makes below. Or someone could make let's say I'm going to make a support here, or so their initial valuation was 4 million, for example. So, right, like, so this is supporting this point. I'm not arguing that this point is not true. I'm simply saying, yeah, this is true, but actually this negation, like this is not really a counter argument as much because they started low, but they did it in a very short period of time. So that mitigates the fact that they started low, makes it less relevant as a counter argument.
Mm-hmm.
Does it like roll up into a summary document at some point? So, I'm imagining I don't know, like a white paper or something. That's, here was the initial proposition. Here were the challenges to it. Here were the responses to the challenge. So that I could just sort of, if I'm just a passive participant, I don't really care and just have a stake. I just want to know what happened. I might want to read just a summary of the discussion.
Currently not. It's something that's been floated around a couple times, like maybe something that the team will build in the future, like I'll pass them the commentary. For now, the point is, and we're not really using this, like this feature is not fully live yet, but there is right now one of the leading game theories mathematicians that is working with the team. They're a professor, but they're working now with the team doing some research on Carroll mechanism, which is this improved or next generation prediction market mechanism to do a mathematical proof that you can indeed incentivize this intellectual honesty and that the market can resolve itself. So once that is validated, then it will be implemented into the game, and that allows you to essentially bet into things like stake your reputation, stake your points into different arguments. And then that market mechanism will be used to resolve the game. So you will actually end up having a conclusion. So right now it only allows to do sense making. You can like help flesh out the topic, figure out what are the arguments, pros, cons, etc. But in the future, it can actually go from fleshing out the arguments to making the decision that is logical and is the closest thing to the collective intelligence of the group. So that's the first thing that the team is focused on, is more like the market resolving the question and being able to have the final decision answer done. But then, yeah, probably as an accompanying material, it would be super useful to have a summary of some sort so that it can be explained and shared more broadly. And so what I'm seeing that they have now is also you have the possibility to add new questions into this with other options, and then connect the existing points to these new questions, to these new options. So what that allows you to do is you don't need to have the perfect question at the beginning. You can start to flesh it out and develop other options. And then each of these things becomes a decision point, if that's where like the group collective intelligence is heading. So that's contrary to... Contrary to, for example, prediction markets, where right now one of the markets was like, will Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, wear a suit or a military uniform when they're going to see Trump? And there was a prediction on that. But then Zelensky ended up wearing something that was a little bit in the middle, like a suit with military lapels. And then people were in conflict and arguing, is this one or is the other? So in this case, because you can have all of these nuance discussion and discuss the relevance of one argument to the conclusion, etc., and resolve that through the market, this will automatically resolve those cases, and you will have a collective intelligence decision on what, did he wear a uniform or a lapel, or whatever the thing is. It would be not with pre-made options, but with the options that emerge through people discussing and debating together.
So interesting. And when does it end? Because I'm conscious of the time as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could create a deadline for the market resolving. In this case, this one is being set continuously. Like that feature will come in is when there is actually a market and you need to set up a close date. So as mentioned, the market betting mechanism to resolve the game is not implemented yet. That is in development right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's like, anyway, I'm kind of excited because it's like prediction markets are finally really taking off. They're starting to be used for all kind of things like Wall Street, even CIA predictions of where is the next missile going to hit and things like that. They're all starting to be prediction markets, and they're shown to be more accurate than many other decision-making methods. And so these actually takes prediction markets and makes them even stronger, with healthier dynamics of people collaborating to find the best decision as opposed to simply betting adversarially.
Alexa is asking, this is amazing. Is it open source? And if yes, how hard is it to integrate it?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Connor. I do not actually know if it's open source. But yeah, given that he's in RnDAO and Alexa, you're also in RnDAO, I'm pretty sure he'll be amenable to integration.
Alexa says thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, the idea is that, like, I mean, I don't know if that's what Alexa is thinking, but if you wanted to use these to resolve a conflict in a contract, for example, did the supplier deliver, or like, did the contractor deliver what was contracted for? There could be a neutral panel of judges that evaluates the situation and decides, and this would give them healthier incentives than what Kleros does at the moment, for example. So it can improve all sorts of decision-making, sense-making situations. So it has a very broad application. Now, the question is, can they crack a UX? That would be great. And if not, well, it's going to be a problem, but that's part of what the team is focusing on. All right, let me maybe stop it here. If anyone has questions, let me know. I can connect you with Connor.
I'd be so curious to see like Arbitrum DAO doing this exercise, like all of their members like participating in this.
I mean, ScrollDAO is already been using it for governance decisions.
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's been one of the pilots. There is a bunch of delegates who've been playing and creating their own argument trees and and so on. Originally it was single player, so it's more recently that it's multiplayer.